All right, you guys. I want to just really briefly talk to you to Lynn's quest for knowledge and wisdom. 'Cause, there are a lot of things that he exposes himself to throughout the myths, challenges, things he puts himself through and overcomes to acquire his knowledge, his insight, his vision, and his wisdom. And a lot of those things are pretty spectacular, eye-opening, worthy of careful thought. So the first myth or stanza from it's stanza 138 of Halvamot, and this is the poem where he's hung himself onto a tree. This is where he acquires the runes. So the runes are writing and the runes of magic and tree and so we wouldn't have sustained a cultural heritage without the runes. So yeah, this is a pretty big deal. And this is I read the original stanza in old archaic Icelandic, and then I read this translation. The translation is fairly decent, so I'm just going to read the translation to you. I know that I hung on a windy tree 9 long nights, wounded with a spear, dedicated to Odin, myself to myself, on that tree of which no man knows from where its roots run. So basically, he hung himself for 9 long nights on the tree from which no man knows from where its roots run. So there are many trees in Norse mythology, but a lot of, well, most scholars seem to lean towards it, the tree being Yggdrasil, the tree of life. I've somewhere seen that they take the name Drasit, the second stem of the word, as in modern Icelandic Drösit, so horse, and Ik being another alternate name for Odin, which yeah makes sense. So, but why a tree would be named Odin's horse when then he has his horse Sleipnir? So that's something to look into, and quite frankly, I haven't spent enough time with it to really form where I stand on that. So I'm gonna leave it open for just putting that out there with it. But there's something about this idea that he mutilates himself, and if you wound yourself with a spear and hang on a tree, you hang yourself for 9 nights, then it's like a suicide attempt in a way, and it's as if he's by some sort of honor suicide, sacrificing himself to himself, sacrificing himself to himself. It's a pretty big and complicated idea right there. And there's something about that, just taking the idea of self-sacrifice, you know when you're sacrificing yourself to yourself, this cycle. So you know in in which way do we sacrifice ourselves out there in life for our own good? Where do we really throw ourselves out there, put ourselves in harm's way, and put ourselves through pain and suffering and things that might be the end of us, but for our own sake, where do we expose ourselves to life at the very edge of it, and for the sake of our own growth? And what is the gain? Do we in our own lives pick up an equivalent of runes by way of which we expose ourselves to the very edge, where we take ourselves to the edge, really challenge death? And I would say there's no greater a way to truly understand and be worthy of life than challenging death, challenging everything that is blatantly dangerous and really an imminent threat and a risk to your existence. You know, if you always live safely confounded with, I'm sorry, there are kids yelling out there on the streets. I don't know if you hear that, but I hear it fairly obviously. But yeah, so there's what was that? So this whole idea that, you know, if you're living safely and you never grow, and yeah, you might have a cute and decent little life, but if you're the kind of person who desperately needs to constantly be feeding this and everything, you need a sense of growing, to feel like you're growing, then definitely you need to be putting yourself out on the edges, constantly trying to push the edge, push your horizon. Know that you can take it all the way out here. It's dangerous, it's deadly, and you go there and you realize it's not that scary, not as scary as you thought, or it is scary, but you overcome it, and then you can, you know, find yourself grounded in that place, and then you can take it even further. You know, there's really a lot about this one stanza, and Alvamol is a big poem, and there's really a lot all over there. So yeah, so there's something to the idea of sacrificing yourself for your own self, uh, and putting yourself through something to gain or achieve something you might not even know what is. You really don't know what you stand to gain unless you until you've put yourself out there. You have gained that, and you're like, oh. Before that, you may not have known that it existed in the world. So there's really uh, some serious food for thought here. So yeah, this was our visit to stanza 138 of Havamar. Um, got the look the poem up. Let me see. Do I see where this translation is from? I'm gonna see if I see which translation that is, because it's fairly useful. If you're let's see, Larrington, Caroline translation, 1999, the Poetic Edda, Oxford World's Classics. So you have that, and you can find this on Wikipedia. And like I said, I mean, I went through the original text first, and then went compared the translation. And at least for this stanza, I like what the translation did. It's tricky when you're translating languages, because and I could do an entire video just on translations, because often because languages don't source from the same scope, understanding, and continuum of history. So often you're losing context, you're losing substance, you're losing innuendos. Shakespeare, for example, very tricky to translate successfully from English into other languages for that reason alone. Such beautiful, vivid, deep poetry, full of innuendos and everything. To just take those big, juicy metaphors and the words, the choice of words, specifically because they can mean various things, while the equivalent word in another language might not mean all those various things. So translating is very tricky. But for this stanza, I just really like this one. I felt like it did it justice in a way that got the gist of it across. Anyways, long story short, so the next thing I'm going to bring up is Mimir's well, Mimir's brunner. So the well of Mimir, and Mimir drinks from this every day. So the thing is that this is a well of knowledge, you know, and and vision. I think most the word I would use to translate would be the well of vision. You get to, and it's because, you know, and as is pointed out in the prose Edda, so Odin came by the well and wanted a sip out of it at some point. He was refused to drink out of the well until he pledged to give one of his eyes, and then he could drink. There's something to this with vision. So he had to give one eye, and that's why he's known as the one-eyed god. But you see, if everyone who's wise, experienced, knowledgeable, who's been around in the world and in life and seen quite a bit, if all of them give one eye to the well, then what is the ocean and wealth of the well itself? If when you're drinking from the well, you're drinking from everything that every single one of these eyes, and you have two, when you arrive, every single one of those eyes has seen, taken all the life that all these eyes have seen, and you're consuming that. The only contingency is you have to also give your vision. So tit for tat, you're taking, because you have two eyes, you're taking one of them, seen everything you've seen, experienced everything you've experienced in this world. You're taking that eye, you're giving it to this source of knowledge, and in turn, you may consume the knowledge of all the other eyes. Something just so truly beautiful about that. When you give it a thought, when you really allow yourself to contemplate what that might mean, everybody has to give an eye to the wealth, and then you have Mimir sitting over there drinking every day. I wonder, did he ever give his eye? But yeah, at any rate, there's a lot to this. If you start to look into all these and compile and examine those accounts of Odin, you can really see interesting recipes for personal growth. Uh, I don't know. It's just so rich and meaningful and beautiful to me. I might be wearing the hammer of Thor, but well, they have some runes somewhere. But yeah, I'm very much Odin is very much a patron god for me because I'm desperately curious and constantly I have such tremendous thirst for knowledge and for information and understanding it. Yeah, so Odin really moves me a lot when when I hit walls in my life. I feel like he's the one I look to the most because it's like, okay, so putting myself through this shit. Continue. Well, I have to continue. Then continued. Himself from a tree. Let's just wounded by a spear. He learned something. So I have to continue. And if you if you care for yourself, sacrifice yourself to yourself or for yourself, you keep going too. Anyways, that was just a quick late night, tired late night presentation and exploration. Just a tiny bit of food for thought. It's been a hectic week so far, and I'm about to keep being busy. And I'll elaborate on a lot of those things soon, but I just had to check in with you guys and give you a little bit of juice because, doing this YouTube stuff, you can't let go of your people, right? Anyways, though, that's it for now. You guys, be strong and tough out there and make me proud. Keep it going. Viking out.